Hey everyone, my name is Laura and welcome to Book Bubbler. Today I have the next in my series of TBR unboxing videos. This one is a slightly smaller box than usual. Let's see if I can lift it. So I can't see in this one this time. I am assuming there are hardcovers in there based on the weight of that small box. This is just for authors with a surname of M. I have a lot of M authors I have not read. For some reason, I tend to go towards like A's, B's, and C's, or like R's and T's when I'm picking a book off of my shelves. I don't know why, but based on the ratio of books I read that I own and books I don't read, there's a lot. There's a lot of M's. So let's see what's in here. First up, Delias Shadow by Jamie Lee Moyer. I have no idea why I have this. I think this is the first in a series. Yep. Set in San Francisco in the early 20th century. Delia's most loyal companions are ghosts. She has been gifted with an ability to peer across to the other side. So after the earthquake that happened in 1906 in San Francisco, she goes to New York, and then several years after that, she gets called back home. So that must be why I own it, because it's set around the quake in San Francisco. I like that time, it's interesting, and I like ghosty things too, so keeping it. Let's start the refrain again, keeping it. Next up is Cersei by Madeline Miller. For sure keeping this. I really, really loved The Song of Achilles when I read it a few months ago, last year, whenever that was. So I am glad that past me picked this book on behalf of future me from Book of the Month Club. Good job, past me. Brad Meltzer, The Escape Artist. I don't think this is signed. I did see him. He came to speak at a not too far away, fairly local-ish bookstore several years ago. Nope. But he was teasing this book. This is the start of another series, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I like Brad Meltzer a lot. I have yet to read his books. That doesn't mean I don't have about a dozen of them, but I have yet to read anything that he's written aside from some of his kids series books. Those I really, really liked and enjoyed. So this is about, obviously it's a thriller, political thriller. Who is Nola Brown? Nola is a mystery, Nola is trouble, and Nola is supposed to be dead. So this guy, Jim Zigorowski, nicknamed Zig, works at Dover Air Force Base. Nola was a childhood friend of Zig's daughter and someone who once saved his daughter's life. So he's determined to find her once he finds out that she is alive. So I don't know. Oh, it's somehow related to Harry Houdini, apparently. No idea. Interesting. Keeping it. Okay. Let's see here. Some stacked sideways. Let me pull those out. Okay. Oh, I paid a whopping $4 for this. Angel Music by Corey Mead. This is about Benjamin Franklin's glass harmonica. And I really like harmonica. It's such an unusual sound. And this should be really interesting. It's about Ben Franklin and a musical instrument that's kind of obscure. And it was a good deal. Keeping it. Next up, sort of a chunky one. Kate Moss, or is it Mossy? I think it's Moss. Sepulcher. This is the second in a trilogy. I don't know. That was a weird noise. Oh, it has a really cool inside. What is that called? End page, thank you. Ooh, a deck of Legends, not so a fan. This is a big chunkster. So I think this is the second or third in her series, of which I have read 0 of the books, but of course I think I own them all. So yeah, keeping it just to see how it goes. I do get rid of books once I've read them if I didn't love them. I promise I do. Next up, White Heat by M.J. McGrath. This is the first in the Edie Kiglatuk mystery series set in an Eskimo village in Alaska. So Edie is leading 2 tourists on a hunting expedition in the Arctic, and one of them ends up getting killed. So, let's see. The council of elders, I believe, wants to call this an accident, and then Edie and the police department think that it's not an accident. And when the second of the 2 people that she took disappears, she really gets involved. So this should be really good. My mom read this and really liked this. I think because it's not really contemporary, set in Alaska, I'll be able to handle it emotionally and not be too upset by it, but it should be really, really good. And I believe she's half Inuit, half outsider. Oh, shoot. I wonder what town she's in. My uncle lived in Alaska since the 60s, until he passed away. And where is this set? Oh, it's on Ellesmere Island. They weren't ever that high, but my mom and family, my mom and her parents, my grandparents, went up with my uncle to help him build his log cabin in the 60s. And then they also went up into some Inuit villages pretty far north and got to live with them and have their way of life. So my mom said it was nice to sort of revisit that time period and revisit that setting again, because she has a lot of fond memories of really wonderful people and a really great time back when she was much, much younger. So this should be really good. I think if I got rid of it without reading it, my mom might disown me. Next up, Making Marion by Beth Moran. I am a sucker for any kind of Robin Hood, anything at all. I will probably love it no matter what it is, how bad it is or isn't, you know. So this is, I'm going to say women's fiction, chick lit for lack of a better term, but you know. So Marion Miller comes to Sherwood Forest to uncover her father's mysterious past. She's looking for somewhere to stay, but instead finds herself on the wrong side of the reception desk at the Peace and Pigs campsite. Despite her shyness, she promptly lands herself a job working for the big-hearted and irrepressible Scarlet. She comes out of her shell, chickens attack her, runaway bike throws her into the arms of a beautiful but deeply unimpressed Reuben. She's trying to find out her father's secret. I don't know. This could be terrible. I don't know. Awful. But I'm going to give it a shot. It's Robin Hood related. It can't be that bad, right? Okay. Another big one. Kate Morton, The Clockmakers Daughter. Another one of whom I own, I think, all of her books, and I have yet to read any of them. So, keeping it. I'm sure they're good. Oh, look, another one. The Secret Keeper. I don't think she writes a small book, but keeping it. Oh, Deborah Mitford, Duchess of Devonshire, Wait for Me, memoirs. I love a good memoir. I love a good British memoir, especially, and set in Chatsworth. And yeah, everything about the Duchess of Devonshire especially, but the Mitford sisters is interesting to me. I read one of her more recent memoirs. I'm trying to look, there's a sequel up there on my shelf. I'm not just like looking for nothing. I read one of them, Count Your Chickens, I want to say it's called, that she wrote when she was in her 70s or 80s or something, and I enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to reading this. It seems more like her whole life and not just when she's older and has been on Chatsworth for a long time. So this should be good. Also, I have never read anything by any of the Mitford sisters. I mean, I know who they are and I know of them, and I have a couple of books by them, but I've never read anything. Where should I start? Someone let me know. If you have read one of their books, let me know where to start reading their stuff. Next up is My Life in Middlemarch by Rebecca Mead. I really like books that work off of a classic novel, especially follow-ups, related tos, whatever the term is. That is probably an actual word that I don't know right now. So when this came out and it was so highly praised, I realized I had not read Middlemarch by George Eliot yet. So I bought Middlemarch and then bought this immediately afterwards, or at the same time, probably, who knows. So based on how I like Middlemarch, I will read this one. So keeping it around for now. We will see. Next up, Carol Matthews, The Cake Shop in the Garden. So fairly contemporary women's fiction from England. Yes, please. Sounds kind of nice right now, actually. Easy reading. Ooh, The Grey Beginning, a novel by Barbara Michaels. This is a vintage hardcover. a whopping $2 at Half Price Books. Thank you much. Thank you much. Yep. 1984. So, it's set in Florence. Kathy Morandini is supposed to go to Florence with her husband, Bart. He's from Florence. But he is too haunted by an accident he had recently, so he doesn't go. So she goes on his behalf to visit his family and his grandmother specifically. And she keeps getting haunted by dreams in her sleep of people that she doesn't know necessarily, but a mysterious scholar searching for secrets, threatening manservant accompanied by a vicious mastiff, a frightened child starved for love, a woman soft and despotic. You can't say a lot of despotic terminology comes up on book flaps these days. So, a drama of deception, greed, danger, and death. A story of hatred and love, betrayal and faith, of shocking revelations, almost unbearable suspense, and breathtaking romance. So, Barbara Michaels. Hey, you can't go wrong with her, right? I was really hooked on her for a long time in the 90s when I was a teenager. I read her, I think, shortly after I stepped away from V.C. Andrews. They seem sort of connected in my head somehow, but always kind of spooky, gothic-y, romancy, mysteries kinds of thing. A lot of stuff takes place in the past, which I really like, so this should be good. Keeping it. Getting to the end here. The Colorless Tsukuru Tazaki by Haruki Murakami. I have never read him before, but his book sounds super interesting to me. Always fairly unusual compared to standard, I realize it's Japanese, compared to standard American fiction. So I think I was given this by a friend who was getting rid of it. But I like this. I like this size. It's like a nice little hardcover, you know? Easy to go on to, so keeping it. No idea if I like him or not, but we'll find out. The Hush by Skye, Malky, Wagner. This was recommended to me by someone on Litsy. Let's see if I wrote who it was. No, why would I do that? Chester is on the road, searching every town for clues about his father's disappearance, but when he is caught accidentally and illegally connecting with the song, capital letters, as he plays his beloved fiddle, Chester is sentenced to death. Only a licensed song shaper can bend music to their will. The axe is about to fall. But there is someone else watching Chester, someone who needs his special talents, who can use him for their own ends, and who is hiding in the hush, again capitalized, where music, capitalized, can be deadly, and echoes, also capitalized, can kill you with a touch. Susanna is that someone. The young captain of the infamous Nightfall gang has plans for Chester. Finally, she will have her revenge. So it's YA, obviously, set around classical music, and the classical music part is what made me like really get this immediately, order a copy, and not just wait around to see if one would show up randomly in a used bookstore somewhere. So we shall see. This could be good. It could be terrible. That's true for most books, but I tend to be pickier with classical music stuff since I used to play. I'm feeling it here. I have 3 books left. Oh, A Barricade in Hell by Jamie Lee Moyers, an autographed copy. This must be the second in the series set in the Bay, about ghosty things and spiritualism after the Great Quake. Set in 1917, so several years after she's been back. Hope it's good. Okay. Oh, that's 2 stuck together. The Season by Sarah McLean. This is one of her first books, I believe. I think this is YA. I think this is before she started writing romance, excuse me. So it's set in Regency, London. Main character's name is Alex. Alex would rather have an adventure than a romance. So she and her 2 best friends, Ella and Vivi, manage to get entangled in their biggest scrape yet. It's a mystery brimming with espionage, murder, suspicion, and love. So, yeah, should be entertaining. And I like Sarah McLean's writing a lot. Okay, Roanoke, Solving the Mystery of the Lost Colony by Lee Miller. So this is, if you're not familiar with Roanoke, I am assuming you've at least heard of it before. The colony of Roanoke was settled in the late 1500s on the East Coast in the United States here. And 2 or 3 ships left this colony that was fairly well established at that point. And and they left to go back to England to get more supplies, bigger stuff. I forget why they went back, but a few ships left this fairly well established colony of 115, 111 people on Roanoke and said, we'll see you in a year, you know, stay safe. We'll be back with lots of supplies, more people, whatever. So they sail off, they assume everything is fine because it's been fine before, and they come back and there is not a trace of people anywhere. There are, I think there were some messages maybe carved into stones, and the word Croatoan was carved into a tree or on a rock somewhere. So it's one of the oldest unsolved mysteries in America. I think it's still unsolved unless it has been recently. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this should be a fascinating look at not only the history of the colony before the ships left to restock, but what they think might have happened to this colony of people, you know, a few hundred years ago. Interesting. And this is the last one in this box, and that is Green Glass House by Kate Milford. This is the start of, it's a duology for sure, if not a series. It is middle grade. Okay. It's wintertime at Green Glass House. The creaky Smuggler's Inn is always quiet during this season, and Milo, the innkeeper's adopted son, plans to spend his holidays relaxing. But on the first icy night of vacation, out of nowhere, the guest bell rings, then rings again and again. Soon Milo's home is bursting with odd, secretive guests, each one bearing a strange story that is somehow connected to the rambling old house. As objects go missing and tempers flare, Milo and Meddy, the cook's daughter, must decipher clues and untangle the web of deepening mysteries to discover the truth about Green Glass House and themselves. Not illustrated, but this should be interesting. It sounds like a book that 10-year-old me would have really, really liked, sort of shades of The House with the Clock in its Walls, that kind of thing. So yeah, this should be good. So out of all the books here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, a whole 19 books. I am keeping them all, to the surprise of absolutely nobody. So I hope you liked this. If you've read any of these, please let me know. If any of these are stinkers, I should consider getting rid of them. Let me know that too, and I will do a try chapter and see how it goes. Otherwise, I will just keep stacking up on Reds in my house. Honestly. I'll be back soon-ish with another one in this series. I think it's going to be another M box, but this time I looked downstairs. It's a really big bin again of M and N. So yeah, that'll be a much longer video. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all taking care of yourself and staying safe and healthy, staying home, reading something wonderful, eating some weird combinations of snacks because, you know, you just eat what you can eat after a point in quarantine. So I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.